60 Seconds with Pastor Eddie, and I'm your host, Pastor Eddie. One of the most treasured stories in the Bible comes from Luke chapter 23, as Jesus saves the thief on the cross. You don't get a much clearer picture of the plans of salvation in all of the Bible as you do here. We see two very clear examples of the heart of God in the Bible. One, when he decided to blow the breath into the life of Adam, very effectively signing his own death certificate. And two, when he stops, fights through his own pain, despair, sorrow, betrayal, loneliness, sleep deprivation, suffocation. He fights through all of that to save one more person. He would have saved both thieves on the cross, but like the world, they were split into two sides, those who believe and those who don't. But there is such a beauty in the simplicity of salvation. Here is a man, the thief on the cross, who is guilty of crimes against his own. He was probably acquainted in some form with Barabbas, whom Jesus allowed to go free earlier by his silence alone. We don't know about his childhood. We don't get to review the details of his life or bring in witnesses to either help us pity him or condemn him. There are no school pictures to put up to make us feel like he was a good boy, nor is there a rap sheet listing his crimes so we can feel like he is a monster. We have but a few moments at the end of his life to review. And in those few moments, it didn't matter what he was. It didn't matter what he had done. It didn't matter where he had come from. It didn't matter what he was convicted of. In that moment, he came face to face with the Messiah and was presented with a choice. At that moment, he recognized and acknowledged the Son of God. Luke 23, starting at verse 40, says, "But the other rebuked him, saying, 'Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward of our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong.'" How did he know that? Perhaps he had heard about Jesus, or maybe even had listened to him teach before, but there is no indication of that in the text. Instead, it seems that everyone around Jesus that day could tell there was something different about him. From Pilate to the soldiers crucifying him, they could tell he was innocent. Notice a few verses later in Luke 23, verse 47, a centurion saw what had taken place and praised God, saying, "Certainly this man was innocent." There must have been something in Jesus' demeanor that stood out to these people. Hardened soldiers and one hardened criminal. But they didn't have hard hearts like the chief priests did. They were able to see in a matter of hours that Jesus was an innocent man. But there's more going on in the thief's heart. His newfound faith in Jesus went beyond believing in Jesus' innocence. He dared to ask Jesus in verse 42, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And the promise Jesus gives is so powerful. He says, "Truly, I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise." I don't know about you, but that story shows a love that I can't even begin to understand. It shows a plan that is beyond my comprehension. But it also shows that God is willing that heaven should be a place filled with former sinners, like the thief, like you, like me. And he doesn't care what you were. When you meet him, he will tell you who you are. John 3:16. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." Powerful stuff. I want to be saved like the thief. 60 Seconds with Pastor Eddie at gmail.com. Connect with me. Let's talk.